If you grew up watching cartoons in the early 2000s, you probably remember Ed and Eddy, the misadventures of three scheming kids in search of the ultimate prize, Jawbreakers. The show was weird, wild, and hilarious, with a style all its own. But there's one story that fans still whisper about, a lost episode that never aired on TV, known only by a chilling nickname, Jawbreaker Hell. I first heard about it from a friend who was deep into lost media forums. He claimed that the episode was more than just a rumor, that it had actually been seen by a handful of people before being pulled from the network's archives. The story goes that the episode was meant to be a Halloween special, something darker and more surreal than anything the show had done before. But what the animators created was so disturbing that it was locked away, never to be shown again. According to the legend, the episode starts like any other day in the Cul-de-Sac. Ed, and Eddy are plotting their latest scam, desperate to get their hands on Jawbreakers. But something is off from the very beginning. The colors are muted, the animation jerky, and the familiar soundtrack is replaced by a low, droning hum. The kids' faces are drawn with exaggerated, almost grotesque expressions, their eyes wide and unblinking. The plot is simple at first. The Eds hear about a secret stash of Jawbreakers hidden somewhere in the neighborhood. They follow a series of cryptic clues, each one leading them deeper into the woods at the edge of the cul-de-sac. As they go, the world around them starts to change. The trees grow taller and darker, the sky turns a sickly shade of green, and the other kids vanish one by one, their laughter echoing through the trees. Eventually, the Eds find themselves in front of an old, crumbling house they've never seen before. The door creaks open on its own, and inside, the walls are lined with jars, each one filled with Jawbreakers of every color and size. The Eds rush in, grabbing as many as they can, stuffing their pockets and mouths. But as soon as they taste the candy, their faces twist in horror. The Jawbreakers are bitter, rotten, filled with something that burns their tongues and makes their eyes water. The house begins to shake, the walls closing in, the jars shattering and spilling Jawbreakers across the floor. The Eds try to run, but the door slams shut, trapping them inside. The lights flicker, and the shadows on the walls start to move, twisting into monstrous shapes that reach for the boys. The last thing anyone remembers is the sound of Eddy screaming, his voice echoing through the darkness as the screen fades to black. After that, the screen supposedly cuts to static, but some viewers claim the episode doesn't end there. They say if you keep watching, the static slowly fades into a dimly lit room where the Eds are huddled together, eyes wide with terror. The colors are all wrong. Everything is tinted a sickly yellow, and the animation is even more distorted. With the characters' limbs bending at impossible angles, Ed rocks back and forth, muttering nonsense, while Double D clutches his hat, whispering apologies to no one in particular. Eddy just stares at the camera, his pupils tiny pinpricks, jaw clenched so tight it looks painful. The room is filled with Jawbreakers, but now they're cracked and oozing a dark tar-like substance. The Eds try to spit them out, but their mouths are stuck, glued shut by the sticky black syrup. The walls start to close in, the shadows growing longer and darker, until the only thing visible is Eddy's face, twisted in a silent scream. According to the stories, the episode lingers on this image for far too long. The soundtrack is nothing but a low, pulsing hum, mixed with the faint sound of children laughing somewhere far away. Some people say they heard their own names whispered in the static, or saw flashes of other characters' faces: Sarah, Jimmy, even the Canker sisters, distorted and ghostly, flickering in and out of the darkness. The legend goes that the episode was only shown once, late at night, during a Cartoon Network Halloween marathon. Most viewers changed the channel, thinking it was a glitch or a prank, but a few stayed, unable to look away from the horror unfolding on screen. Afterward, the network supposedly received dozens of complaints from parents, and the episode was pulled from circulation, never to be aired again. I tried to find proof of Jawbreaker Hell, a clip, a screenshot, anything. But every time I got close, the trail went cold. Lost media forums are filled with people searching for the episode, trading stories and theories, but no one has ever produced a full recording. Some claim to have found old VHS tapes at garage sales, but the footage is always corrupted, the audio warped, and filled with static. Others say the episode is cursed, that anyone who watches it is plagued by nightmares of jawbreakers and shadowy figures for weeks afterward. I started to wonder if the story was just an elaborate hoax, a creepypasta that got out of hand. But the more I read, the more I started to believe there was something real at the heart of it. Too many people described the same details, the same feeling of dread, the same haunting image of Eddy's face in the dark. I kept digging, hoping to find someone who could confirm the story, or at least explain where it came from. I messaged old animators, scoured fan forums, and even reached out to people who claimed to have worked at Cartoon Network during the show's run. Most never replied, or just laughed off my questions. But one night, I got an anonymous email. The subject line was blank, and the message was short. "Don't look for it. Some episodes are better left lost." Attached was a single image, a blurry screenshot of the Eds in that yellow-lit room, their faces twisted in fear. The quality was terrible, but I recognized the scene from the stories. In the background, the walls seemed to pulse and breathe, and the jawbreakers on the floor looked almost alive, writhing like a nest of insects. I stared at the image for a long time, feeling a chill run down my spine. Was it real or just a clever fake? I couldn't tell, but I saved it anyway. After that, the dreams started. I'd find myself wandering the cul-de-sac at night, the houses warped and melting, the sky a sickly green. I'd hear the sound of jawbreakers rolling across the pavement, and when I turned around, the Eds would be there, silent, staring, their mouths glued shut with black syrup. Sometimes I'd see other kids from the show, their faces stretched into grotesque grins, their eyes empty and hollow. I'd wake up sweating, the taste of something bitter lingering in my mouth. I stopped searching for the episode after that. Every time I thought about it, I'd feel a wave of nausea, as if something was warning me to leave it alone. But the story kept spreading. More people posted about their own experiences, strange dreams, corrupted files, TVs turning on by themselves late at night, always to a screen filled with static and the faint sound of children laughing. Some fans started to believe that Jawbreaker Hell wasn't just a lost episode, but a kind of curse, a story that infects anyone who hears about it, making them see things that aren't there, dream things they can't explain. Others said it was a metaphor for childhood fears, a way for the show's creators to explore the darker side of growing up. But no one could explain the details that kept cropping up. The yellow room, the The black syrup, the endless echoing laughter. Now whenever I see a Jawbreaker, I feel a little uneasy. I remember the stories, the image in that email, the dreams that still haunt me. And I wonder if the episode is still out there, waiting for someone new to find it. I started to notice that I wasn't the only one who felt this way. Online, more and more people began sharing their own stories. Some had never even seen the episode, but just reading about it was enough to give them nightmares. They described hearing the sound of jawbreakers clattering on tile floors in the middle of the night, or seeing flashes of the Ed's distorted faces in the static of an old TV. A few even claimed that after learning about Jawbreaker Hell, they'd find jawbreakers in places they couldn't explain, under their bed, in their backpack, even in the pockets of jackets they hadn't worn in years. The legend grew. Some said the episode was created as a warning, a message from the animators about the dangers of obsession and greed. Others believed it was an accident, a project that went too far and was buried to protect the show's reputation. But the most unsettling theory was that the episode was never meant to be seen by anyone outside the studio, that it was a kind of test, or maybe even a ritual, and that anyone who watched it became part of the story. I tried to ignore the rumors, but the dreams kept coming. Sometimes I'd wake up with the taste of something bitter in my mouth, or the feeling that someone was watching me from the shadows. I'd check my phone in the middle of the night and find messages I didn't remember sending. Just strings of random letters, or the word Jawbreaker repeated over and over. I started leaving the lights on when I slept, just to keep the darkness at bay. One night I got another email from the same anonymous address. This time, there was no message, just a video file attached. I hesitated, my finger hovering over the play button, but curiosity got the better of me. The video was short, just a few seconds of static, then a flash of the yellow-lit room, the Eds huddled together, their faces twisted in terror. The screen went black, and for a moment, I thought I saw my own reflection staring back at me, mouth open in a silent scream. After that, I deleted everything. Emails, screenshots, the forum accounts. I stopped talking about Jawbreaker Hell, stopped searching for answers. But the story never really left me. Sometimes, I'll hear the sound of jawbreakers rolling across the floor, or catch a glimpse of something moving in the corner of my eye. And every time, I wonder if the episode is still out there, waiting for someone else to stumble across it, someone else to get trapped in its endless echoing nightmare. I wish I could say the nightmares faded, that the story of Jawbreaker Hell eventually became just another creepy internet legend. But the truth is, it's always there, lurking in the back of my mind. Sometimes, when I'm alone in a quiet room, I'll hear the faint sound of jawbreakers rattling in a glass jar, or the distant echo of children laughing. I'll turn on the TV late at night and find the screen filled with static, and for a split second, I'll see the yellow-lit room, the Eds' faces twisted in fear, staring back at me. I've learned to live with it, in a way. I don't talk about the episode anymore, and I avoid anything to do with Ed, and Eddy. But every so often, someone will bring it up, a friend, a stranger online, even a random post on social media. The details are always the same: the lost episode, the bitter jawbreakers, the shadows that move when you're not looking. And every time, I feel that old fear creeping back in, cold and sharp as the taste of black syrup. Some people say the episode is still out there, hidden on an old VHS tape in someone's attic, or buried deep in the archives of a forgotten server. Others believe it's just a story, a cautionary tale about the dangers of obsession and the power of suggestion. But those of us who've seen the images, who've heard the laughter in the dark, know better. We know that some stories have a way of sticking with you, of changing the way you see the world. Now, whenever I see a Jawbreaker, I hesitate before picking it up. I remember the Ed's faces, the way the shadows closed in, the sound of Eddy's scream echoing through the darkness. I wonder if the episode is still waiting for someone new to find it, someone new to carry the story forward. And I wonder if, somewhere out there, the Eds are still trapped in that yellow-lit room, surrounded by Jawbreakers that taste like nightmares. So if you ever hear about Jawbreaker Hell, or find yourself tempted to search for lost episodes late at night, remember my story. Some things are better left lost, some episodes are better left unwatched, and some Jawbreakers, no matter how sweet they look, are better left alone. Because once you've heard the laughter, once you've seen the shadows move, you'll never look at Ed and Eddy, or Jawbreakers the same way again. I still get messages from people who stumble across the legend for the first time. They always start the same way. Curiosity, a little skepticism, maybe even a joke about how a cartoon could be so scary. But after a while, the tone changes. They ask if I've ever really seen the episode, if the dreams ever stop, if the feeling of being watched ever goes away. I never know what to tell them. I want to say it's all just a story, that it can't hurt you if you don't believe in it. But I know better. Sometimes, I wonder if the episode is more than just a lost piece of animation. Maybe it's a kind of test, a way to see who's willing to look too closely, to dig too deep. Maybe it's a warning, a reminder that some things are meant to stay hidden. Or maybe it's just a story that got out of control, spreading from one person to the next, growing darker and more twisted with every retelling. But every so often I'll hear from someone who claims they've found a copy, an old tape, a corrupted file, a link that only works once before disappearing forever. They always say the same thing. The episode is worse than they imagined. The colors are wrong, the sounds are distorted, and the Ed's faces haunt their dreams for weeks afterward. Some say they can't eat Jawbreakers anymore, that the taste makes them sick. Others say they hear laughter in the static when they turn off the TV at night. I try not to think about it too much. I keep my lights on, my curtains closed, and my TV unplugged when I'm not using it. I avoid lost media forums, and I don't go looking for stories about cursed episodes. But the legend of Jawbreaker Hell is always there, waiting in the background, a shadow at the edge of my vision. If you're reading this, maybe you're curious too. Maybe you think it's just a story, something to laugh about with your friends. But if you ever find yourself alone at night, with a Jawbreaker in your hand, and the sound of laughter echoing in your ears, remember what I've told you. Some episodes are better left lost. Some stories are better left untold. And if you ever see the Eds staring back at you from a yellow-lit room, their mouths glued shut and their eyes wide with fear, turn off the TV, walk away, don't look back. Because in Jawbreaker Hell, the real nightmare isn't what you see on the screen. It's what follows you when the episode ends.